360 degrees. Ha 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 ha. Round and round we go. To the circle 360. Round and round we go. Life was insane.
All right, Miyuyam, Cho Onam, and Namokiam to Full Circle, your cultural affairs radio magazine, produced by members and graduates of the First Voice Apprenticeship Program and broadcasting from right here at KPFA in Huchin, occupied Ohlone territory, also known to settlers as Berkeley, California. And this week on Full Circle, we continue a long-standing tradition here, and that is bringing you some interviews from the BH Brilliant Minds Oakland Juneteenth celebration. On tonight's show, we'll hear interviews from different folks who had booths at the Juneteenth celebration, and we're also going to get a short update on the in-custody death of Yolanda Ramirez from Brentwood, California. The verdict is in from the coroner's inquest. That's all tonight on Full Circle. I'm your host tonight, Freeble Franklin, coming to you from downtown Antioch. This is occupied Bay Miwok territory. Keep it locked right here to KPFA. All right, good evening, everyone. And again, welcome to Full Circle right here on 94.1 FM KPFA and kpfa.org. We are part of the Pacifica Radio Network. And yes, as I just said, tonight we'll be hearing sounds from the BH Brilliant Minds Juneteenth celebration. But before we do, I just want to give a short update on what happened in the case of Yolanda Ramirez on Wednesday. As our regular listeners know, Yolanda Ramirez was contacted by Brentwood police after a family disturbance. She was then assaulted and arrested, but as she waited in the back of the car, she became unresponsive and later died in the hospital. On Wednesday, a coroner's inquest was held, and that is an opportunity for a jury to hear the evidence presented by the judge, the police, and the medical examiner, and they decide on the manner of death. Well, after Yolanda's death, the county did an autopsy, and lo and behold, it showed that she died of natural causes from a small tear on the inside of her brain, which bled and caused a stroke, they say. A second autopsy provided by the Colin Kaepernick Foundation showed blunt force trauma and asphyxiation as contributing to her death. After the jury heard the information, they decided that Yolanda's death was going to be ruled accidental. And although it's not what the family wanted to hear, which was death at the hands of another, not by accident, the ruling of accident does leave the door open for liability, and they will be pursuing more action against the Brentwood police. And just a heads up, to see the interview with the Ramirez family outside the courtroom on Wednesday after the ruling, please head over to First Voice Media on Facebook, where we have posted the video, or First Voice Media Official on YouTube. All right, let's get on to the show tonight, because coming up next, we're going to be sticking with a full circle tradition, and that is covering the BH Brilliant Minds Juneteenth celebration. And the celebration is held every year at Brockhurst Street between 32nd and Market. And this year's theme was remembering where we come from to rise above the odds. And like every year, there was live entertainment, music, dancing, a fashion show. There is also always a health zone with wellness resources and financial literacy workshop, and a youth empowerment zone. And of course, lots of delicious food and art vendors. So coming up next, we're going to jump into some of these interviews with folks from the wellness zone and other people with tables and exhibits at the event. And these interviews were hosted by First Voice graduates Rod Akil and Bernard Henderson, a.k.a. Bookman Bernard. And in these first interviews, we'll hear about being tobacco-free and how important therapy is for people's mental well-being.
All right, my name is Bernard, and welcome to the BH Brilliant Juneteenth celebration, 19th annual Juneteenth celebration. We're here to talk to Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. Introduce yourself, sir.
How y'all doing? My name is YP. I'm out here today with the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. Pretty much out here to give awareness about tobacco issues, get people to advocate for the community, help them learn more what's going on around us with the tobacco smoke, what it's doing. That's what I'm out here doing today.
So what can you tell us that we don't already know that, cigarette? You talking about cigarettes and what,
Pretty
vaping?
much everything from cigarette smokes to vaping. We all know tobacco is one of the leading in cancer and killing most of us, especially in the black community. When I learned about it, crazy story, but I seen the commercials from back in the day, how they target us with the Newports. It's crazy. The menthol. There you go, the menthol cigarettes. So, and it's been going on for so long. If I gotta be honest, I started at 17. I was still in high school. Over the years, I guess you could say stress took over. But once I realized what it was really doing to me health-wise, mentally and things, I was like, this ain't for me. I like to stay in my athletics, my physicality and whatnot. So there was a time where the smoke delayed my stamina. That's something I realized too. Then I started to look at myself at the age I was looking more older than my age. I didn't like that about myself. So what helped me, I had to look at myself and discuss.
How did you get started in the first place? Why did you start smoking?
At 16, my father passed away. So it was crazy. Me and my father wasn't actually speaking for like 2 years. We had a little falling out, and then I had a situation with my mother and stepfather, and then I ran away from home. I was
At 16?
Yeah, I was a troubled kid. I was going through some things, but when I did what I did, my father still took care of me from a distance without me knowing, and that's something I learned. Something my mother let me know, and then crazy. We got cool a year, going me becoming 17, found out he's having kids. My father, the woman he was with, gave birth to triplets. So it's I started to see a change in my father, because my father himself was a cigarette smoker as well. But at that time, he actually quit himself. I think it was about 4 months in, he had quit it. And I actually seen the change, because he always smelled like, that aroma, that menthol smoke is strong. He ain't smelled like it. It's just faint memories that I remember about him that I seen the change.
How about your friends? Were they smoking?
Oh yeah, all my friends, man. Everybody was smoking, man. It was a natural thing, especially being, like I said, it was a target in the black community. Everybody was smoking menthol.
So people smoking all around you.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start working with your grandmother in this program?
I want to say I started back. It was 2016.
Or let's take it back. When did your grandmother start the program?
I think she started the program, I want to say, back in when did I start Laney? About 2015. So, yeah, I helped a year later. But I do remember the little things that we were doing once we started it. I was still smoking in, though. That's why I didn't feel like I should have been more involved, because it didn't make sense for me to be speaking on the message, and I'm still using. So I stood away from it because it just wasn't right for me at the time. I wanted to really be off of that and be out here to give my testimony about it. Like I said, I'm 6 years clean. My last cigarette was May 20th, 2020, and I feel completely better. I feel great about myself, and I feel great to go ahead.
So you were saying the reason you stopped because you weren't feeling right, you weren't feeling healthy, you were looking older. So how did you get started? Once you made that decision, how did you get started getting clean?
Getting clean, I just had to look at myself and discuss. First I started asking others advices, what they do, what helped them to stop. Everyone does something different. Most people chooses a different vice. They'll stop smoking, but they'll start doing drugs. They'll stop doing drugs, but they'll start becoming alcoholics. I didn't want to take one vice, go to another vice, or that. I really wanted to be off of it, and I felt like the only way to be off of something is really to cold turkey it. And the only way for me to cold turkey is I had to look at myself in disgust. You know, I'm 32, 6 years. I think I was like 20-something, about 24, 25. I really had to look at myself in disgust. Every time I picked up one, I called myself ugly. Every time I'm sitting there smoking one, it reminds me my girl didn't even want to kiss me or whatever, didn't want to be around me. It's just, but it's funny, but it's true.
Yeah, well,
Right.
whatever works.
Right.
You know, and it's like, I gotta really look at myself like this. And then one day,
So you just went cold turkey?
there's one cold turkey. I remember it was out. Me and my homie was in his truck. We was at the gas station on Seminary. Just bought the box too. I had the box for about 2 hours, and I ran through 2 of them. And me and him was having some serious some stupid conversation, but something came over in that moment. I just said, bro, I don't need these no more, bro. And I was finna chunk them out the window. He like, no, hold on.
They cost a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I was telling on the table, man. You know, when I started, cigarettes was still like $5. When I stopped, that was $11.50.
Right.
Now I'm hearing they touching $20.
Yeah.
That's gas.
It costs a lot of money to kill yourself.
It
Right.
do,
Right.
but from what I've been seeing, it ain't stopping nobody, man. It's just people picking between their habit, picking surviving. It's like, that's crazy to me.
So this organization that your grandmother started, what is it doing? What is it doing to help people get off of cigarettes or tobacco?
So right now we're pretty much just educating them, bringing the awareness, and pretty much showing them the cause and effect of continuous tobacco use. You know, most people, the secondhand smoke, thirdhand smoke, going to your children, to your pets, people with diabetes, cancer, lung problems. It was a gentleman I said he's actually celebrating his year anniversary of lung transplant from being clean. I'm like, yo, that's dope, man.
You said the gentleman, that was me.
Sorry, my mind. I got my mind all over the place.
That was me.
But I was just so taken from that, man. That's dope, man. Like when I hear stuff like that, I really, that's very impactful to me, man. Because I lost my finger when I was a kid, and when I talk about it, people when they see it, they was like, "What happened to your hand?" I was like, "Yo, I was 4 years old. Really can't remember the full thing. All I know is someone closed the door, and this entire finger came off." They had to revive the nerves, stitch it back in. I wore a cast on my arm for a while, man. I can't remember. But it's like I went through a lot of traumatic stuff. And then, like, growing up, I had a lot of impactful people help me get through them traumatic things. Like, what I felt like I went through worse, people went through something way worse than me. So it's like him celebrating that, man, that's very dope, man. That's dope.
Thank you. So your grandmother's here with you today.
Yes.
Right?
Well, I'm here with her.
Oh, you're okay. Well, let's correct
I'm assisting
it.
her because, like I said, I have my life too. I work. I take care of my son. I'm soon to be a married man in a year.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So when I do find the time, I make sure I get on the front lines and be out there with my grandmother because at the end of the day, I wouldn't even be on this without her.
Okay, what's your grandmother's name?
Marlene Hurd.
Say it again.
Marlene Hurd.
Okay. Well, we'd like to thank you and your grandmother for being a part of KPFA. Do you have any other questions, Ron?
How do you get in contact?
You can contact us at tobaccofreealamedacounty.org. Website right there. I don't technically have the contact number right now, but I know that's the website. Look us up
That's
online.
all you need.
tobaccofreealamedacounty.org.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you guys.
it.
Appreciate your time, man.
All right.
We're here at the 19th annual Juneteenth Festival. We're here right now with Malik Knox from Black Bay Therapy. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. The vibes are right. The weather's good. I'm great. Meeting people out in the community. I'm loving it.
All right. Tell me about Black Bay Therapy. What is that?
So Black Bay Therapy, it is a website that if you are black and you are looking for a therapist, you can find them there. So we have a database of black therapists that operate within the Bay Area, in person or online, insurance or sliding scale, some people who work in clinics, programs. So it's supposed to be kind of a one-stop shop if you're looking for a black therapist in the Bay Area. There's also other local resources, wellness resources there, helpful books, podcasts, but it's basically for black mental health.
And when did you start this?
So I've been working on this project since August of last year. So it's been almost a year now in the making. The website just went live a few weeks ago, but I've networked with therapists, gotten the website together, curated all the content. So it's pretty new. It's going to keep continuing to grow and expand our list of therapists that we have on there, in addition to other Black mental health professionals, wellness professionals. I want to get Black massage therapists on there, kind of everybody, so that we can just to have a space for Black folks to just be able to prioritize your own wellness.
Why do you feel you needed to put this together?
I think when it comes to therapy, I was thinking about like what can I do to assist with the gap in Black folks getting therapy, and I think a big part of it is representation. I think about my own experience, like growing up, when I would see therapists in the media or whatnot, they were always white. So it took a while for me to understand how therapy could be also for me. And then I know that some of the best stuff for me in terms of local resources is just coming from the community. So I just wanted to have a site that is just very local, very Bay Area, and tailored to us.
Talk about the stigma of mental health and the therapy, especially for Black folks and men.
Yes, absolutely. I think Black folks, we are a resilient resilient group of people. Our people have been through a lot over generations. And I think also some of the messaging that we've gotten is that we have to figure things out for ourselves, that if you show feelings, that's a sign of weakness. And I think men and boys get a particular flavor of it. But I think what many of us has found as we get older and whatnot is like being in tune with our feelings. That is strength, that is power. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stigma that I think mostly comes from just white supremacy, from sexism, from the different oppression that's also put on men about, your job is to not feel, it's to go to work and be a provider. You don't get to have feelings when we're all human. We all have feelings. So I think therapy can be a good way to kind of address the stuff that all of us have been through, and be able to be stronger and have the life that you want.
But how do we break this stigma? How do we get to these brothers and sisters that's out there thinking that going to a therapist is weak, we just need to shake it off and just, we got too many, trying to make ends meet, but not knowing that therapy is such an important thing for us. But how do we get that across to our people?
I think a big part of it is just having conversations with people. I think it's feeling like someone is talking to you as a peer who may have been in therapy before. I know for me personally, like that, things always hit a certain way when it's coming from somebody that I know and I trust. So I think part of why I'm out here is to be able to get to connect with people, have those conversations, have in-depth conversations with people about how are you really doing. And I think for Black folks, it hits different when we're hearing it from someone who understands our experience.
And you just go to blacktherapy.com?
Blackbaytherapy.com.
Blackbaytherapy.com.
No, you go to the website. There's the database there. There's also a contact us page. If you have any questions or need some assistance navigating to therapists, there's a form for you to fill out. It gets emailed directly to me. And I really want this to be useful and helpful to people, so I will be answering everything I can.
You got a staff together?
Right now it's just me. Right now it's just me. But the hope is that this will continue to grow and expand. So I hope it gets to a point where I can't do it all by myself.
By yourself, yeah.
Yes, that's the goal.
All right. Malik. Last name?
Malik Knox.
Malik Knox. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Malik Knox. Thank you. This is incredible. And I hope it does get bigger where you need to get a staff.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you for talking to us.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Full Circle right here on 94.1 FM, KPFA, and KPFA.org. We are part of the Pacifica Radio Network, And you just heard some of the voices from this year's BH Brilliant Minds Juneteenth celebration. This was the 19th annual celebration, and full circle, I think we've been there at least 10 years. I have to look into that and see how long we've been doing it. Well, coming up next, we got 2 more interviews from the event, and we'll hear from Alameda County for Reparations and from the AME Church of Oakland.
We're here at the 19th annual Juneteenth Festival. We're here with the Reparations Commission, Board of Supervisors, and we're here with
Deborah Gore.
And
Sloan. Sloan.
And then what's the name of your organization, Sloan?
I'm here with Live Free California and Live Free USA.
What is that?
We're a community violence interrupters and decarceration organization that's working to better the lives of African Americans and brown people in the state of California.
So you guys are working together.
We're working together on
collaboration.
This one, collaboration for this AB bill and for reparations for the Alameda County.
And I'm the chair of the commission, and we've been doing reparations work in Alameda County, so all 14 cities, for 3 years now. And so we're about to issue our report next Tuesday, June 30th, for the County Board of Supervisors to pass the report.
So how long have you been working on getting to the Board of Supervisors meeting or to present your project?
Yeah, so there's 15 commissioners, and we've been working 3 years. We were seated in 2023, which is so hard to believe. And we did a series of community listening sessions. We did surveys to get the qualitative stories to go with the quantitative data. We did quite a bit of analysis and deep dive into the research in the county, like the work they've been doing, the statistics, and then we got the community stories to back up the data. And so we've been doing that for 3 years, and got staffing by the library, actually, for the last year to be able to produce a report. We're about up to 250 pages of a report that we will present this Tuesday, June 30th.
Good. What does it say in the report?
Yeah, so we have we had 44 actions, both from the quantitative and qualitative analysis, under 12 policy areas. And so we broke it into short-term, medium-term, long-term. And so the areas are from economic development, housing, health, all the things that have to do with incarceration, re-entry. So that's how we came up with the 12 policy areas. But ultimately, it's all those things that affect where there's harm. So reparations, I think people mostly think of compensation and restitution, but the repair, the harm that we identified and the repair that we're doing falls under also restitution and reconciliation, the 5 UN principles, non-repetition. So educating the community on how broader the repair can be was also part of the 3-year effort.
What brought you guys' organizations together?
My organization, Live Free California, is working in collaboration with ART, which is Alliance for Reparations, Reconciliation, and Truth, to get this bill AB 2599 passed, which is called the Truth and Disclosure Act, through the Assembly. So we've been working it through the Assembly, and the bill is about getting corporations to tell the truth about where their money came from and their ties to slavery. So the Truth and Disclosure, we're asking corporations to show their receipts. And Deborah does similar work in getting reparations to Alameda County. So that's what brought us together, because we're trying to get reparations for our folks.
And I would also add that the Alliance for Restitution and Reparations and Truth came out of the statewide study. So if you recall, 3 years ago, the state issued the task force, which was the first in the country, and they issued an 1,100-page report with their initial state assessment of reparations, and we built on that. So we didn't have to recreate the wheel. And we also built on San Francisco City and County. They did a reparations task force. So I feel like the state of California has, been quite collaborative on building and demonstrating for the whole country like how reparations can be done. And there are only 2 counties in the whole country, us and Fulton County in Georgia, who are undertaking reparations. A lot of independent cities, so we have Russell City, who has already established some reparations, Palm Springs, Bruce Beach, Evanston. those folks have already had reparations actually initiated beyond just an apology. So it's quite a movement that's happening.
I'm curious. When you said these corporations need to show receipts, how can we get them to do that?
How can we get them to do that? Well, the first step. Well, this is not the first step. Our current step is this bill AB 2599. So we're gonna get them. We want them to get on record and to disclose where their money came from, and if they don't, because we know that folks don't just do what you ask them to do. They're like we want you to tell us the truth, right? Tell us the truth, and if and when they don't, right, they're gonna be under possible perjury. But now we have something to hold them accountable to do it. We know this is just a stepping stone, but we want to make sure we need to have the pegs in order to hold them accountable to do it, because of course corporations aren't going to just do it. It's like this is an uphill battle that we've been going uphill with for some years now. So this is just like our next step on it.
Can I just add though? So with the corporations, so think the railroads, insurance companies, where they have been founded in the 1800s, they have to go back into their records. So let's use insurance, for example, right? So they have insured labor. They have loss of labor. They have insured damage to property, which were actually folks, black folks. And so the receipts, you have to go through your policies, you have to go through expenses all the way back as far as possible. And then we have it digitized so that anybody in the community can go look up, Met West Health Insurance Company and see. So that's what the bill does, sets up the digital portal for the state to capture the information. And like Sloan was saying, it's under perjury of law. So there's affidavits you have to complete, and it'll get launched in 2028. And so then and as we said, it's a stepping stone. Once we have disclosure of the harm, then we can kind of build policy around so that folks don't redo those harms. And, as we know, a lot of it comes through the incarceration system. And there's actually,
which is another part of slavery.
And so if we can put things in place to say you have to disclose, then you're more than likely not to commit the crime in the first place, because you're going to get called out to report it. So that this is, this is one of the stepping stones. There's a lot of the California Black Caucus has been working on a lot of reparations bills. And so this is one of those building blocks that you put in place.
Are you finding that you're getting people attacking this, and especially corporations that are saying, we don't want to do this? How are you going to make them do this? Is what I want to know.
We've actually been getting overwhelmingly support within the assembly. We've had multiple. The original person that brought the bill to the assembly was Assembly Member Brian. And when we got to the Appropriations Committee, we had two more assembly members go ahead and wanted to be they wanted to be signers on the bill as well and say that they brought it as well. So we're getting overwhelmingly support. But I'll step back, Sister Deborah. Have we had some corporations say some stuff that made us? Because I know in some of our language we haven't been naming exact corporations to make sure that we didn't have exact backlash like that.
Yeah, we've named industries, but it's companies over 100 million. So it doesn't capture
$100 million.
$100 million.
Oh, $100 million.
In the United States.
I thought you 100 million corporations.
Hey.
Well, when we did it in the early 2000s, the insurance companies, it was like 1,200 insurance companies. So there's going to be a lot of corporations that you'd be surprised, $100 million or more. But it is under the way that it's... you have to submit an affidavit, which means you go to the Attorney General to report. If you do not report, then there can be fines and fees against you for not reporting. So there is some leverage here on saying it's a disclosure bill, and then if you don't disclose, you have penalties. So the disclosure part actually is, we've done a lot of disclosure. If you think about the environmental protection, right? We do emissions disclosures, filing your financials. We make corporations file their financials. We make you file any injuries and accidents. So filing and disclosing has a pretty decent footprint of how to do that. So we're just adding another piece to that, which, and like I said, we did insurance in 2000s and 02 actually, but there wasn't any follow-up after that, right? We didn't digitize it. You have to go dig out the report. And so now it'll be ongoing year after year to build that muscle of what it means to disclose the exploitation of labor, and particularly through harms that were created. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the money will come from the corporations or the government? Or the government is making the corporation pay the reparations, or how does that work?
So this bill in particular, so AB 2599, is just disclosure. We're trying to identify the harm first, right? Because that's yeah. Because that's the
Exactly.
I know that.
Exactly.
because that's the redress, right? Like a lot of folks would say, well, you know, how are you going to know if you're ancestors of slavery? And this is now saying, no, you benefited from ensuring this, you know, the passage across the Atlantic slave passage. Like now you have literally receipts instead of just innuendo and, you know, who's black enough, who's going to get. It's like, no, you actually made hundreds of billions of dollars, and this is what you need to redress, which is redressing has a very strong legal and financial footing to make the argument. And so a lot of the reparations that's happened has really been redress into expanding it to policy. So let's say, you know, housing programs for black folks and that's redlining. That's well documented. Right, I don't have to go back to slavery and
Right.
who was your great grandmother.
Right.
It was
Now,
like
that was last week.
Right. Yesterday.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
So the partnership with Live Free has been very strong because they are really good at organizing, right? So we were doing the work at the county level to get the information and build the data, but then we need somebody like Live Free California to sort of organize the folks. I think so we'll be presenting on June 30th, and we have over 140 support letters. We've got about 100 community citizens going to show up to add their Me Too voice. Without the organizing, right, that's the muscle that we bring to the table with Live Free. And then we have been doing the spade work within the county to hold the county account, to deliver what the county asked us to do first, but then to make it go from what I'm saying is the representation mode to the implementation mode. So we'll get to see now, look, we gave you a roadmap, y'all execute on it.
So that's what you're looking for when you present on the 30th,
Exactly.
the results of
The report to say, here's what the community told us, here's what the data told us, here's what the organizing told us, now y'all need to implement. So now they have a roadmap, right? You need it. Just like, which way should we go? What should we prioritize? We split it into short term, medium term, long term. We put it in 12 policy areas with 44 different recommendations.
so
What do you mean by the community, the data from the community? What does that look like?
So the Alameda County has agencies and departments who actually collect the data, and they disaggregate it. So if you look at, especially our health department, I'm just going to lift up the folks who are doing that work, have had black birth mortality. They've been measuring outcomes, health outcomes. I know y'all are talking to the tobacco folks. They've been measuring that, and they can disaggregate it by race, neighborhood, gender. And so but what do you do with that information? And it completely over-indexes for black folks, right? And you can, we have Prop 209 that says you can't use race, but you can use all this other data that says, look, it's not race. We're telling you, here's the high mobility rates, here's the housing impacts, here's the incarceration, and we're going to go to where the harm is. And so that's what I mean by the data that you can get from within the county. And and you know, before it became, you know, sort of non-DEI, it's still the county and the cities within the county are still doing that really good work of making sure that our public dollars are going to those who need it and who are harmed, and that we're not doing harm, that we're doing positive impact stuff.
And that data is derived from a whole bunch of listening sessions. Deborah, how many listening sessions did you do? You said 40 listening sessions?
We did 22,
22 listening sessions?
in person, and then we did another 10 or 15 online.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we got up to about 40 in the last year. In the first 2 years, we were doing
November.
Yeah,
Right.
It was, we've been hustling. But the first 2 years, we were doing that data collection. We were talking to the city and county of San Francisco, and we were talking to the state folks who were doing AART and CJAC. I would mention another group. Those folks have been, years of doing it. So we built on their work. We didn't try to do it standalone. We probably wouldn't have even got this far.
So after the meeting and it's presented, and whatever you got, it's approved, and we go, okay, we accept the terms. Then what? What happens next?
So then you now, we call it operationalizing. You have an official committee, and then you have a budget, you have staffing. So just like our public safety, right? There's a public safety committee that gets a budget. And by the way, public safety in Alameda County is about $1.3 billion. And the social health and social services is another $1.2 billion. How is that money, structured and spent within these committees and subcommittees and task force and community advisory? That's when you operationalize it. So we're saying, they have a Department of Equity, and we're giving it that equity, the reparations roadmap. And so now you'll be able to, go to Alameda County. Where's the reparation work being done? Oh, at the Department of Equity. It has a budget. It has a staff. And then you can get it as just any other department within Alameda County.
I'm curious, how many corporations are involved with this? Do you know?
With the reparations at the county level?
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't gone to the private sector at all. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for being a part of. We appreciate it. And contact information of what you want people to know.
Yes, from the website, you can go to Alameda County Reparations. Literally, it's at AC Reparations, and then .org, and then for Live Free.
You can follow us on Instagram at Live Free California, or you can look us up online at livefreeusa.com.
All right.
We have Instagram, LinkedIn as well. So if you put in Alameda County, you'll find all our stuff. So thank you so much for letting us promote and share the work we're doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. We're back here at the 19th annual Juneteenth Festival celebration. We're here with Miss Professor. Can you tell us your name, please?
Omowale Fowles.
Omowale Fowles, Health Ministry at St. Paul's AME Church in Berkeley. Tell us about your organization.
Okay, well, our organization has been engaged in trying to sidestep or avoid or prevent either of those. I guess you could call them the chronic ailments that beplague the African American community, African Caribbean community, and those folks of African ancestry who are engaged heavily in eating things with lots of salt in them. And that's not good. So what we found is that the combination of living in a quasi-hostile racist economy and an economy that is devaluing the humanity of human beings of all kinds, that adds to the stress and increases the adrenaline of folks moving from one day to the next, one event to the next, one location to the next. And you never know when something is going to pop out at you that would trigger excessive adrenaline flow and cause your heart to overwork. That overworking, when you're talking about blood pressures, is called systolic, or the working heart rate, the upper part of the fraction. And the heart resting rate is called the diastolic, and that's the lower number. It is the lower number, which is usually thought of as being 80 or less when your heart is healthy, when your heart is at rest, when your heart is not stressed or not subconsciously working in an environment of hostility as being the norm, 80. And then your working heart rate, even when you're eating or drinking water, that raises your systolic or your heart working rate, because digestion is a function of an involuntary nerve system that is designed to feed you, nourish you, pull the nutritional values out of foodstuffs, and let your enzymes participate in breaking those down and fueling your body so that you can go on from day to day.
How's your organization helping to get the information to black folks that, they need to do better, health-wise, eat better, and so forth?
We participate directly with the Ethnic Health Institute now at Samuel Merritt University on Pill Hill. That organizational program, the Ethnic Health Institute, was started by Dr. Frank Staggers Sr., may he rest in peace. And his concern was that very concept that you're talking about, the high blood pressure rates, the hypertension rates, and the high death rate from cardiac failure. So one of the things that he did was he established an annual Hypertension Sunday for the fourth Sunday in February, which is Black History Month, and had many churches, organizations come together with the Ethnic Health Institute to have a health fair where they literally tested everybody's blood pressure. And in the process of doing that, also created literature that we've gotten from not only the American Heart Association, but also from several African American science groups. I'm thinking particularly of the Charles Drew Medical Center in Los Angeles, that actually explained why African Americans had a higher normative blood pressure rate than what the society said was normative. The society says 120 over 80 is normative. They found that on average, the baseline was 130 to 140 over 80 or 85 for the African American community because of that underlying current of racism, hostility, and violence. And so what we have found is that the institutions, in the process of teaching ethnic studies, in the process of looking at the parameters of one's life, and parameters meaning when do you eat dinner, when do you go to sleep, when do you have a chance to worship in whatever spiritual way you do, all of those play into your blood pressure. And your blood pressure is a very sensitive measure of how your body is responding to its environment externally and its environment internally. Internally meaning what you put in your mouth. So we are asking people to stop frying foods. Steam it, bake it, boil it, and when it's possible, eat it raw. And you will find that when people who have moved into the areas of naturopathic medicine, they've moved into holistic eating, they've moved more into taking organic fruits and vegetables rather than just anything off the street. You'll also find that people are more aware of the responses of their bodies. In other words, most people have this running joke about, oh, it was such a wonderful Sunday afternoon meal, I fell asleep right away. No, that's not good. It means that your system is so overworked with trying to digest the heavy food that you ate that it knocked you out so that your body could relax, so that all of the enzymes could work together to extract the nutrients that you just took in, but also to move the waste products out. And one of the things that we don't tell people is that the waste product removal is 50%, maybe even 51% of your body's total health, because you got to clean it out before you nutrify it. So that's one of the things. And so this Ethnic Health Institute that Dr. Steiger started back in the 1990s, we became part of that through one of our members, Mrs. Beverly Hapershan, who was a registered nurse and a member of our church, St. Paul AME Church, and her husband was a presiding elder. That legacy has been part of our church now since then, and even before. And then we had Dr. Lewis Davis was also chair of our health ministry, and he was a pediatrician that had done lots of prenatal care, and prenatal care is another piece that's a part of the blood pressure continuum, because we need to remember that what mothers do affects what happens to infants, embryos, and fetuses. And at one time, the city of Berkeley was third highest in the number of low birth weight babies born in the United States among African American women.
We know what's bad for us. We know you just laid out why we have high blood pressure, this and that. But we have to deal with the culture. A lot of this is cultural. As a black man, I understand, now, because I've dealt with heart issues, and I found out the hard way that I need to change my diet and exercise and all that. But a lot of it, I grew up in the black community. I'm black. I grew up, deeply in the community, in the culture, and a lot of things you're talking about, the food, a lot of what we eat comes from slavery, dealing with, my favorite food when I was a kid was chitlins, not knowing, I loved chitlins, of course I don't eat it anymore because my mother passed away and I don't trust anybody else's. But this is a cultural thing, and not everything in our culture is good for us. So how do we get to making it, eating healthy? And I think it's happening with the young people, but how do we get to the people that don't have this information, not, live in food deserts, can't afford the organic foods, which is very, very, food is expensive, period. But, healthy food, organic food is crazy. People can't afford it. How do we deal with that?
One thing that we've tried to do is to encourage people to start growing their own. And I know that's difficult because if you don't have a garden or earth to deal with, you're not sure exactly how you can do that. One of the things that I experimented with, because I go to farmers markets all the time, but I had also learned by going to farmers markets and looking at what Asians do is growing your plants hydroponically. So in other words, you just stick the roots into a glass of water, and it's a glass, not a plastic. And you start growing it in water, and then you gradually transfer into dirt and keep the same quantity of water going. And then because I do onions and garlic, and as the garlic and the onions grow the green scallions, you snip them off, rinse them off, and eat them. And you can eat them from your hand after you wash them, or you can put them in your food. And this is another dropping or preventing high blood pressure, because both garlic and onions and shallots, and this is another thing that we don't know about is shallots, reduce your excitement level, the working heart rate, the systolic heart rate, and they are alkaline. So that also means that it reduces your pH level so that your acidity, and pH is numerically the reverse of what we think of as being at a point of equilibrium. So if your pH level drops down to 6.5 or 6.4, 6.3, that means you're sick, or something's bothering you, or something is causing some disequilibrium in your system. And what you want to do is actually raise your pH level closer to 6.8, 6.9, 7, 7.1, because that's where the human body operates at its fullest potential. And we find that water is perfect at 7. Apples are closest to water at 6.8. And anything below that is acidic. It could be toxic. It could be deadly. But usually the example they used to like to give is that when your child has a cold and the temperature goes up to 100, that's time for some alkaline stuff. And so there's a whole list that has been created, I guess you could say, through study and long-term practice at the Natruly Herb store in Richmond on McDonald. Brother Dasan and his wife, Sister Free. And they have a whole list that says these are the alkaline foods that you can put together for meals, starting with breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, that will help prevent high blood pressure, will help detox your system if you're already toxic, and will basically just help you prevent a lot of these chronic diseases. And the other thing I wanted to mention that you had said about our culture and our legacy of food is that diabetes is not passed on genetically. It is passed on culturally through the food, because mama ate this, grandmama ate this, granddaddy ate this, great-granddaddy ate this, and we all had diabetes. We don't have diabetes in our family at all, because we were growing stuff. We were farmers. And when we escaped, from through the Underground Railroad out of Arkansas coming into California, we just kept growing stuff.
Right. Tell us about the history of the AME Church.
Oh, that's really wonderful. The AME Church is the African Methodist Episcopal Church, which came out of a revolution in Philadelphia when African people in the community of Philadelphia they were worshiping with the United Methodist Church, and at one time the community arrived a little late, and they got there in time for the invocation, which is the first prayer in the liturgy. And so the United Methodist Church in Philadelphia at that time was segregated, and black folks had to sit upstairs. You had to sit upstairs in the movie houses and all that other kind of stuff. So that's what happened. So folks arrived, and in the middle of the prayer, being reverent to God rather than reverent to, the racist supremacy, they began to kneel on the floor downstairs before they went upstairs to the colored section. And the usher came racing over saying, you can't pray here. You can't pray here. And the pastor, the leader said, I'm sorry, but you can't just throw us out right now. We're in the middle of prayer. The pastor's in the middle of prayer. You just have to wait, And this continued, on and on. And so finally, prayer ended, and they decided they would walk out. They just had enough of this nonsense. First we get in slavery, then we get out of slavery. We come up here, find out that you guys are just as bad as the folks that we were dealing with in the South in slavery. So Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, and a group of others decided we're going to form our own church. And they began to organize.
When was this?
This is 1787. We're about 250 years old. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. St. Paul AME Church is 92 years old here on Ashby in Berkeley. We are 270-something or 280-something years old. We're older.
So we're older than the country.
Pretty much. And most of those histories, and there are other churches as well, because there was an African Baptist church as well. And our denomination or our discipline is the one that maintained or retained its African name in the church's name.
Okay.
The African Baptist Church, I don't know what happened to it. There was splitting off of another portion of the African Methodist Episcopal Church into the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, which did not want to follow the United Methodist liturgy of church program. So that's how we got here, and the African Methodist Episcopal Church is international. We have churches in the Caribbean, we have churches in Africa, we even just opened churches in Switzerland and Sweden, because there's so many African folks there.
Right. Well, thank you, Professor. We appreciate you talking to us. And how can we get in touch with you? How can the church? You have a website?
We do have a website. We just changed it, and I'm we just changed it. So if you just write St. Paul Berkeley, St. Paul AME Berkeley, and it'll come up. Okay, but we have a new one, and the new one we just got like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I haven't committed it to memory, but I apologize for that.
Well, thank you, Professor. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Black made this. Black made that. Black made this. Schoolyard rap. Wake up, hit the switch, whole room light up. Notice that filament all in the light bulb. Wrinkled shirt, iron board, use that. Nice, dry clean jeans. Nice touch, walk out, little sister, tricycle past that. Pots blew up the bathroom, need a gas mask. Peanut butter jelly, potato chips, lunch pack. Before you leave, kiss grandma, get your backpack. Glad you got a pacemaker, keep her heart good though. See the street sweeper cleaning up the hood, bro. Gardeners working hard past that mailbox. Lawnmower cutting yard, edged up, top notch. Light bulb filament, iron board, dry clean, potato chips, peanut butter, tricycle. Y'all see, gas mask, street sweeper, pacemaker, that's right. Lawnmower, mailbox, even that traffic light. Rolling down MLK late night. You see the color change, slow down on sight. If you see it yellow when you looking, you ain't right. I see red, green, and gold on that black traffic light. Black made that, all that. Black made that, all that. Black made that, all that. Black made that, all that, all that. Hey, Thomas Edison made that light bulb cool, but Louis Latimer made that light improve. If you ever feel you can't shine in class, look up at the light, say black made that. Cause you the spark plug to stop. You need an X-ray to see broken arms. How you think food travels across those states?
And that brings us to the end of tonight's show. Remember to check out and follow First Voice Media on Facebook and First Voice Media Official on YouTube. That's where we post videos and other material that doesn't always make it to the radio waves. Shout out to the Full Circle crew, Miss M. She is the executive director. Joy Moore is our production consultant, and me, Freewill and Franklin. I have been your host and producer tonight. I'm also the technical director for this show, Full Circle. Thanks for listening, everyone, and remember, while you're out there, to please protect your health and also your humanity. And stay tuned to KPFA. Up next is La Onda Bajita. Good night, everyone.
You are with me in all I see.
I was listening to the voices of life.
My very breath.
Roots Communications on the Great Turtle Island. Friday late nights, 2 a.m. Pacific Time on KPFA.
Life was so simple, life was so sweet.
With selectors Lapu Lapu, Spliff Skankin, Urban Native Sun, Balcon, Elia Malaya, Connects, P-Dog Ray, J Smokin'. Roots Communications, Friday late nights, 2 a.m. Pacific Time on KPFA.
You know, the modern economy is fascinating. You pay to watch TV, you pay to listen to music, you pay to store your photos. I'm not going to name names, but Rod has an app that reminds him to drink water.
Wait.
And we're not judging, we're just saying, if you're going to forget you're paying for something every month, make it KPFA. We'll even let you name the price. You let us know how much KPFA is worth to you. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a monthly sustainer, a guardian of KPFA. Feeling cheeky? Do 10. Feeling generous? Do 50. Since 1949, listeners have kept this place alive by giving what they can. You pick the number. We'll keep the radio on. KPFA.org.
This is 94.1 KPFA and 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno, and online everywhere at kpfa.org.